It's not a big deal. I'm fine.
Okay, we are recording. Happy Tuesday.
Cool.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, so following up. Sorry guys that I look like a hot mess, by the way. I just came back from a run. Had a embarrassing bathing suit trying on session. Anyways, so following up, I think that like one of the biggest things that I have figured out as far as like, can you guys hear me okay? You're all frozen. Okay, sorry. So I think that like we've kind of all talked about this before, but I just kind of want to talk about like, you know, going through and like, you know, talking to people in the first place. Your first, you know, conversation with somebody, it depends on whether or not this person has approached you about the opportunity or whether or not you're approaching them about the opportunity. If you're approaching them about the opportunity, obviously, you know, you want to make small talk first. You want to, you know, sort of like have it naturally come up in conversation. And then from there, you know, ask them, hey, do you want to, you know, if there was a way for you to make extra money, like go through the scripts. If there was a way for you to make extra money just by drinking wine and sharing about it with your friends, would it be something that you'd be open to? And then, you know, from there, you know, you should send them a video and say, okay, well, usually what I do is I say, if I send you a quick 15-minute video, would you take a look at it? Unless they've already looked at my website. If they somehow found me on like the internet, and if I know that they've looked at my website because either like they've emailed me through my website or you know, something like that, then that's not usually a step that I do. But if they haven't, you know, had the opportunity to check out my website and I know that they have very little knowledge of what I'm talking about, then I send them to a video. But before I send them the video, I always set a follow-up call. So I know we've talked about it this before, but most people who you approach about the business, it's going to take anywhere between 3 and 5 interactions with them to get them to make a decision. Your goal for direct sellers and your goal for this, for any network marketing company or really, you know, any sort of service that you're offering somebody isn't to get them to say yes. It's really important that you understand that, you know, like, yes, you want to get them to say yes, like, you know, you want them to understand what a great opportunity it is, but you want to get them to a decision place regardless of what that decision is. You want to get that to get them to a decision place. I know that we talk about this a lot with you know, with just like the business in general, but it's really, really important for you guys to all detach yourself from the outcome. You know, one thing that I say on the phone, regardless of, you know, whoever's been on the phone with me and whoever, you know, is one of my personally sponsored, when you were on the phone with me, when we were talking about this, I probably at some point said to you, my job is not to convince you that this is the opportunity for you. My job is to give you the information that you need to, you know, make the best decision for you and your family. And I think that that's a really important it's not hold on. It's not working. I'm just on my cell. The Wi-Fi shut off. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, so the most important thing for you to do for someone is to, you can shut the door. I'm sorry, I should have shut it. Is to get them to a decision-making point. You just want to get that yes or no out of them. So that's why, you know, like I said, first touch is, you know, just kind of small talk, introducing the opportunity. If you haven't talked to that person in a while, get to know them a little bit. If they're somebody that is a cold market person, somebody that responded to an ad or something like that, then you want to get them, you know, comfortable with you enough to know, like, and trust you enough to, you know, take heed in whatever it is you're saying. The next thing you should do is you should send them the video. Third thing that you should do is you should follow up and either get them on a call with me or Lauren, or even, if you just feel like maybe at this point you just want to get them on the phone, and answer their questions. This is just mostly like, hey, like, I just want to answer all of your questions. What did you think of the videos? Where can I fill in the gaps? And at that point, you're going to have a pretty good idea of whether or not, like, this is something that they're interested in. If they get off the phone and they're just like, like, I'm not really, if they seem disinterested, but they don't give you a hard no, then just say, hey, is it okay if I follow up with you in, I don't know, like in a few days? Like, I talked to somebody on the phone today, and she was pretty like cool as a cucumber. Like, I wasn't really sure what she was thinking as far as whether or not this was something she wanted to do. So I got off the phone before I got off the phone with her, I said to her, hey, I'm going to go ahead and send you a link to my Facebook. Why don't you go ahead and send me a friend request? And then, from there, I can, sorry, my phone is going to die. From there, I can add you to Winemates Virtual Wine Wednesday, and, you can ask some more questions if you have some more questions from there. So from there, we did that, and she actually did send me a friend request, and she, popped into Virtual Wine Wednesday. And, that's a pretty good indication, if you're not friends with them or something on Facebook, and if they do that, like, then you liking what they're doing on Facebook. After that third touch, you want to kind of back off a little bit, and give them the opportunity to mull it over, to, watch your Facebook if they're not necessarily ready. That's why Winemates Virtual Wine Wednesday is great to put people in. I've said it before. I do not recommend putting people in that group if you've never talked to them before. Mm-hmm. It's really, really important for you to build a relationship with them before you go ahead and put them in Virtual Wine Wednesday, because it's just really impersonal in there, and it's a great place for them to, like, when I'm talking to somebody, I say, hey, I'm going to add you to this group. It's got everybody, on my team in there. If there's anything that you kind of want to get more of like a group answer and not necessarily like just my take on it, like, that's a great place to ask. And, a lot of people actually are starting to kind of take advantage of that, which is great. That's kind of, what the group is for people to ask questions, and to get more responses than just the one person they've been talking to. So then after that, I would start interacting with them more as a friend. And, if you see something that they like, or like, it was just Easter. If you have people that you haven't followed up with in a few weeks, this is a great time to just say, hey, just checking in with you. How was your Easter? Really, really non-threatening question. So that's, that can be the next step. And then at some point,
there you are.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I think okay. So at some point, you're going to have to go back and say, hey, have you thought any more about, this wine thing? And, the best way to do that is probably to work it into the conversation. If you're talking with somebody and you say, hey, how was your Easter? And they say, oh, it was great, blah, blah, blah. How was your Easter? Oh, well, it was really good. I brought over, a bottle of our Chardonnay, and it went really great with the ham, or, something like that. And you start talking about wine. And if they start asking you, well, how's it going? That's a great opportunity for you to say, yeah, it's going really good. Like, we're really having a great time, whatever. And then for you to say, like, have you thought any more about, joining us? And, at that point, they're either going to say yes or no. You can, even at that point, you can even leverage, like, if there's if there's some sort of event coming up, or like right now, like, say, hey, like, we're having a really big contest right now for, Aruba. And, things are blowing up. Like, we're like growing all the time. If you are considering joining us, you might want to consider joining us now, because, we just broke 17,000. And then if they're just being like really not responsive to you, then that's the time when you want to go into the scripts and you want to take away the opportunity and say, hey, and still be really upbeat and really happy and just say, hey, I would just wanted to send you one final message about direct sellers. I know that we've talked about it and it seemed like it was something that you were interested in. But I'm guessing from your, from your lack of response that it's not something that you're interested in anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and take you off my list. Or you can say, do you want me to go ahead and take you off my list? You can say either one of those. And they're either going to say, no, please don't take me off your list. I've just been really busy. Or they're going to say, okay, yeah, you should take me off of your list. And at that point, like you've gotten them to the point where they need to make a decision. If they say no, like, please don't take me off off my list, and it's been a while since you guys have talked, like, you need to start the process again. You need to say, hey, okay, well, when can I get you back on a phone call so we can, answer the rest of your questions? And you can even say again, like, my job is just to get you to make the best decision. I'm not here to pressure you into doing anything. But if there's things that you're still, concerned about, confused about, whatever, then let's, go ahead and talk about that and voice those concerns. So that is kind of, what I do as far as like following up with people. I know that there's a lot of different systems out there. I'm not very organized. I use a pen and paper. I'm a big notebook person. So what I do is I have a planner. It's a moleskin planner, and on the left-hand side are the days of the week, and on the right-hand side, I literally just have a list of everybody that I need to follow up with.
Mm-hmm.
And if I followed up with them that week, then I put a little dot next to their name. And if I haven't, then there's no dot. And if for some reason I don't follow up with them by the end of the week, then I move them over to the next week. And eventually I start crossing people off if they're not interested. But there's other ways to do it. I know Casey uses Teamsy, and she has a love-hate relationship with it right now. And people I know Lauren's husband is obsessed with Excel sheets, so I'm pretty sure she probably uses some sort of Excel document.
We're working
So
on
there's
it.
a lot of different ways to do it. But I mentioned in the beginning of the call, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Lauren, and we're just going to talk a little bit about, she probably has some thoughts on follow-ups, and we're going to also talk a little bit about, some of these lead generator things, like briefly. But one thing that I was thinking today, like I mentioned, I just got back from a run. And for fun fact, for those of you who don't know, but I used to actually be a Division I runner. I ran the 5K and 10K in college, and I actually broke 5 minutes in the mile when I was in high school. Now I'm really slow, but I was running today and I was dying. And one of the things that I was thinking was, when I just remember one of the things that stuck in my head before nationals, one of my coaches saying, like, when you get tired, like, just focus on your forms, like, lift your knees higher, move your arms. Like, if you focus on your form and if you focus on the mechanics of running, then everything else, then you're going to keep going. And the same thing is kind of true with this. Like, if you focus on the mechanics and if you focus on the basics, then, and if you know the basics and if you know how to do it, then everything else will fall into place. Like, you might like hit a few bumps and you might, but like, and I think that's why I think athletes and, people that just have a hard time in life, I think that's sometimes why they do really, really well at network marketing, because they know how to just keep going through the shit. Like, and like, I don't mean to say that, like, I don't mean to swear, but like, when like when things get tough, like, we just kind of keep plowing through. Even when, we have like those days where we're just frustrated and we feel like nobody's answering the phone and nobody's getting back to us, we just like keep going, because that's, what we've been kind of trained to do. But with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lauren, and she's going to share her thoughts on following up and stuff.
Awesome. Yep. And yeah, perfectly what I was just thinking, like paralleling with what I was thinking. It's all about the fundamentals. So that's what Kelly and I have worked our tails off trying to provide resources for you all with the fundamentals, because those things are essential to just future growth. And we know that a lot of you have huge goals for your teams and for yourself and for your families, etc. So we see, you know, the importance of really having that foundation and those fundamentals that are super important. And you know, when you are in those days where people aren't answering your messages, and you know, they're, you know, giving you the runaround, I think it's really important to have the fundamentals of a human in mind as well, because you know, being able to actually put yourself in the situation, the shoes of the person that you're speaking with. I know sometimes it's hard because they're really vague and you don't know what the heck is going on in their lives, and you're like, okay, you're just being rude. But you know, if you are at that point friends with them on Facebook, take a second, not necessarily waste your time stalking them by any means, but you know, look and see. Oh, Kelly, you're on twice.
I'm on once now.
Okay, I'm muting her. Okay, but you know, look and see if they've got some stuff going on. You know, like look and like think back, you know, on the follow-up situation, and that's why I just wanted to make sure you guys look and see where you're documenting what works for you, whether it's saving the screenshots of, you know, the conversations you're having, or, you know, if you're busy, just take a quick screenshot of the conversation so you go back and look, or, you know, see if they've actually shown you that they've got a lot of quote unquote shit going on in their life, and you can be a real person. You don't need to necessarily dive into friendship mode and like take this person on as like a whole situation, but like, you know, see if they've got something going on. You know, one thing I've done a lot, and sometimes it goes further than this and sometimes it doesn't, but I just say, you know what, you know, I'm just going to lift you up in prayer. Hope you don't mind, but I'm just going to lift you up, and I hope that everything, you know, I'm going to touch base with you. Do you mind if I circle back and just like check in and see how things are going? You know, if that's the type of connection that you're normally having with people on a day-to-day basis, don't forget to have the element with people that you're communicating with this business. So don't get so honed in on numbers and I need to talk to 100 people today and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And you forget to be personal, and you forget to have that connection and have that hone in fundamental communication skills that you know you have. And, you know, if they took a 180 from the time you talked to them 2 days ago, and now they're saying like things are just not in a good place, blah, 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 you know, you don't necessarily need to ask them all their personal business, but just be like, hey, you know, is everything okay? Like, you know, check on them. You just never know what's going on. But if it's the opposite way too, like if there's some really awesome things going on in their lives, you're like, what's going on? Like, I love it. Like, how are things going? You know, especially on the follow-up. This is what I'm more honing in on the follow-up here. Because I mean, sometimes these are developmental things that happen over time, because I'm more so referring to that, because when you're first talking to people, it's hard to know, like, you know, all these things in their lives. But this is when you start really starting to see things in people's lives, because they'll start telling you like, oh, I just had a baby, and you're like, oh, I didn't know you're pregnant, cool. Or, oh, I just, you know, we had a death in the family, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. But of course you wouldn't, because you don't follow that, you know, you have other things you're doing. You're not following them like a stalker on Facebook. Like, so, you know, jot those little things down on, especially whenever you write down your circle back list. Like, I would make a real note of that. Be like, yo, the reason why I'm circling back is because they had this trauma in their life, or they had this monumental thing happen, or they just got married, so let's give them a little bit. You know, they may not tell you that, like, but remember, start making little notes, because those are going to help the follow-up. Those are really going to help your follow-up, because that actually makes you seem like a human, not just any of these other people that are pursuing them for a multi-level marketing at-home business or whatever it is, you know, that people are pursuing them for. So that's a key component that's really helped me, because I've actually been able to be like, and that's not been necessarily like every situation that I've said, you know, I've reconnected with people and circle back that it's worked out. I'm still like 4 months later, still circling back to people. But you know what? Like, I don't know if it's ever going to work out, but I may be the only person lifting them up in prayer. So I don't care. Like, I might be that only person that's actually like, hey, like, I'm following through with what I said I'm going to do. I told you I'd follow up in a month, and you told me that that was a good idea, that was a good time for you, was a month. And here I am. I promised, I said I would do this, and here I am. You know, like, remind them of the time frame that you're talking about, but don't throw that back in their face, of course. One word I would really like to encourage you all to avoid, and Kelly made sure I know she didn't say this, and it was awesome, but I would be really careful not to be condescending, be like, obviously this isn't something that you're interested in. That word, I want to just cut that from the script, only because to me, it's putting you in a situation of like that you know better than them, and I don't like that. Maybe sometimes it is at a point where it's like, yo, like, you've been dicking around for a while. Like, I don't really, okay, obviously this isn't working out for us. Like, we're not meshing. But I mean, that takes a special thing, but I would be really careful to use those words that are a little like higher than, higher mighty type of things. But the follow-up too, those are really important words to stay away from, I think. For me anyways, I don't talk like that typically. I don't typically have, but if you're a real straight to the point, like that's the type of person you are, please don't listen to me when I say that. Like, go ahead and say whatever it is that you're comfortable saying. But if you're not, don't feel pressure that you have to turn yourself into someone that you're not when you're following up. So be authentic, but it is important if you are one that you're like kind of dancing around the issue, it is important at some point to get to the point. And I mean, if you have a lot of people you're trying to follow up with, you don't have time. You literally do not have time to follow up with all your people, remember every detail of their favorite color, who they're dating, whatever. And like Kelly and I have been talking about, we want your teams to explode. So you're not going to have time to be juggling all these things, and you guys all have lives. So kind of find a balance there, but take lots of notes at this point, because these relationships are important. If it's someone that you're following up with from your warm market, and it's something that you saw that they were back at your high school and blah blah blah, like there's one picture that can bring up an awesome point of conversation that they post. Or you don't have to like reminisce about everything, but like look at little details that strike a chord with you. And just
somebody comments on your Facebook picture.
Yeah.
Like somebody commented on my picture today or my post today about me looking for bathing suits that I had approached the first week or two that I was in the business about joining. And she gave me a suggestion for bathing suits. So I wrote her back and I said, hey, like, what's the sizing on these?
Mm-hmm.
And then she asked me how the wine business was going. So now that's like, back, on the table.
Right. So yeah, just, be able to be alert to those types of things. Like when someone actually, you're like, oh yeah, they like I have this one girl that I'm serious. I message her. She never writes me back, but she likes and comments on my crap all the time. I'm like, whoa, it's so frustrating. I'm like, just write me back. And I've called her a couple of times, and I don't know what it is, and it's fine. It may never work out. It's cool. But I'm not going to be like blocking her on Facebook and being angry about it. I don't have time for that. Like, I don't. But I know that she's still seeing my stuff. I'm still sending love out there. Hopefully she's receiving it. And, that's cool. Like, it is what it is. I don't have time to stress about it. But I know that there are a lot of you that you're following up and you're doing awesome and you're just not getting a response. And I just would really encourage you just to continue talking to more people. Because when you get really bogged down by that 15 people list of 15 that are just like infuriating the crap out of you, you need to move on to another. Not move on, like forget about those people and they don't exist anymore.
You don't need to cross people off to add more.
You don't have to. You just move.
If they're hungry enough for it, they'll come to you before you come to them. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't follow up with them. It just means that, like if you're friends with them on Facebook, they're seeing what you're posting. It might just not be a good time, but if you're following up like you say you will at some point, they'll come around.
Right. And that shows that you're a human. Again, like you're not just always business, and you're not always curbing every conversation to go back to this wine business that you're doing, or, you are authentically being just like living your life. And if they're commenting and seeing your life, that's great. That's what you want. But I would really encourage you to be adding to your network, because if you're not, then you're just literally marketing the same exact people all the time, and you're going to have those same exact people on your follow-up list that are doing, it's like you're just going to be spinning your wheels. So when I say add to your network, I mean you need to be finding groups on Facebook that are, you know,
In your
something
niche.
like, I mean, if you obviously a few of you have buns on your head, so like hairstyling, you know, fun things like that. Like if you're, you know, there's groups literally for everything. I would say also, you know, if like Kelly gave the suggestion a minute ago about if you have a lead of someone that you're talking to, and you know, Facebook does put that restriction on there that you you know, you need to be friends before you can be messaging with some of these people that aren't in your group or whatever. You know, don't be intimidated by that. Put yourself in control and say, hey, send me a friend request so we can proceed with our conversation, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't beat around the bush. Just take control of the situation and be like, hey, it'll be a lot easier for us to communicate. Go ahead and send me a friend request, and I can give you all the information that we were just discussing. Or leave it at that, because people don't like really read as much into things as we think they do. And they don't actually understand where we're coming from a lot of the time. So they don't understand this whole like monumental buildup it is that they're the next person on our list and we've got huge goals and like all these things. They're like, oh, I'm getting messaged, or I'm talking to this random person about wine, you know? So dial it back a bit, but just keep the momentum going, especially with the numbers. So, you know, and don't be scared to talk to people when you're out and about. So like add to your network that way as well. Have some sort of,
always take their information. Don't give them yours.
yeah.
And if you do give them yours, have your, like, you can give them a business card, but it's almost better. One thing that I think is really cool is sometimes people have like a picture of their business card and they text it to people instead of actually having a business card. So that way you get their information.
Mm-hmm. You're like, I'm out of business cards. I've been so busy. Can I just text you? You know, I have a picture of mine. Do you mind if I just send it to you, or do you want to, you know, exchange, you know, do it that way? Then again, you're appearing, obviously we're all busy. So
I know we have like 8 minutes left. Do you want to move on to like
yes.
the leads really quickly?
Yep.
Do you want me to do?
Oh, no, I can go ahead. Okay. So we've got, you guys have been seeing, there's a few different, ways of tracking your leads, your referrals, your follow-ups, that type of thing, your contact list, merging them, etc. And both of these that I'm going to talk to you about are, well, Teamsy and the My Wine Funnel. There's probably others out there, but these are the two that you probably are seeing circulating through the big groups and possibly even like on our group every once in a while. I personally do not use either one of these. I did use Teamsy in my previous business, but I just honestly felt that I still was referring back to pen and paper, and that's just in my calendar, and that's just kind of how I roll. But these are, just to be aware, these both are subscription based, so like you do have to pay a monthly fee. But I wanted to just bring these up tonight only because I think that some of us are getting a little desperate, as opposed to like thinking that these are like your last ditch effort to possibly get.
Does Teamsy, like, can you buy leads on Teamsy?
No. No, you can't buy leads on Teamsy. Mm-mm.
Are we talking about like lead tracking? Because My Wine Funnel, you can get leads from.
Yeah, but it's like, I think isn't it like $40 some a month for?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, because I thought we were gonna talk about like funnel systems in general and like buying leads or whatever.
Oh, well, I was just gonna, I'll let you finish up with that. But I was just making sure that you guys are seeing. I know you're seeing some of these things, and I've had a couple people ask, like, well, I don't know what else to do. I'm losing track of all my stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, if that's the case, then I mean, if you need a way to track all your stuff, that's fine. But I would say too, you need to be actually writing these people's names down. So you are, and then again, back to a whole conversation what we talked about tonight. If there's a reason why you need to follow up with them at a certain time, or like circling back to them, like making sure you're adding those little details into your notes, because that's the important stuff right there. So I would be careful to start like subscribing to all these things if you're not already doing the basic things on your own that are actually helping you progress with conversations and following up with people. So Kelly, if you wanted to talk about the Mind Wine funnel, I mean, I know we both don't do it, but.
So there's two other things. There's like, it's like My Wine System and My Wine.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they're two, like, they're basically sales funnels. Anybody that like has been in any other like business, you probably know what a sales funnel all is. Personally, I think they're both garbage. I like, it's $40 a month, but like you still have to run Facebook ads on top of that. They're not that great. They're not aesthetically pleasing. I just think that they're kind of worthless. I have not gotten one single lead. I did it for a month and I did not get what I got. A bunch of leads, and they were either wrong phone numbers or they were just people that like were not interested. Personally, I get more from, I have on my website, I have a contact me thing. If anybody's seen my website, you can, it's goodwinebetterlife.com if you want to check it out. I can help any of you guys make a website if you want, or if you want to make your own, it's really easy. I went on Wix and did it. Super simple. But I have literally like the same information laid out there, but it's laid out in a way that is aesthetically pleasing and that is, branded for me and for people that I want to follow up with. And I get more qualified leads that way. But like we've said before, any of these things, whether it's like making your own website, whether it's using any of these like sales funnels, whatever, if you're not, the reason why you're not getting, people to sign up isn't because you're not doing like the sales funnels and stuff like that. It's just you're probably waiting for those invisible results to catch up with what you're already doing. Or B, like you just need to do more. And I'm not talking about like do better. I'm just talking about you just need to talk to more people. I think that you guys, if you're on this call, then you're motivated. You're probably well-trained. You've gone through the training. I think that all of you guys know what you're doing. I'm confident that all of you will succeed and are going to succeed. But, I think that it's just one of these things where you just need to set realistic goals for the amount of time that you have. I mean, a lot of you that are on this call, this is not your full-time gig. This is a side job right now. And like, you need to have the expectations of it as a side job until you have the time and until you build the momentum to push it forward. I have told you guys several times, my first month I made $0. My second month I made probably $250 to $400. My third month I made $4,000. Like, it's just kind of, you just have to wait for those invisible results to catch up. Most of those people that I signed up during my third month, talked to them in my first month. It's just the way it is. People just wait around to see what you're doing. They want to see if you're still posting about wine. You don't need to go crazy and blitz Facebook with wine posts, but I would say post about it like 2 or 3 times a week. You don't need to post about it every day. 2 or 3 times a week is sufficient. I know that we're running out of time. Yeah, I mean, so if anybody has any questions, I think that we should just probably go ahead and start a feed in the group, and we can just keep talking about this. If anybody has any organizational things, please share it with the group. Go on Facebook Live or something in the group, share it, do whatever. But like, you guys are doing a great job. Like, invisible results, guys, invisible results. That's like what I want you guys to, keep in mind. Like, you will get there. It's just going to take some time.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for getting on. We're really, really proud of you guys, and we'll talk in a little bit, I'm sure, or if not tomorrow.
Bye.
All right, guys. Bye.